Well, City Squash is a unique program in more than one way. Youth from the 3rd grade all the way up to college students are not just learning and playing a sport that isn't quite as popular as areas like in certain places of the Bronx, but they're also tutored and they have access to college preparation. Founded just 9 years ago, City Squash has built quite a presence at Fordham University and here in the Bronx community. Here to tell us more about the programs that his organization has to offer is Tim Wyant, Executive Director of City Squash, and with him is his student. And we've got Billy with us. And Billy, how do you pronounce your last name? Florima?
Florima, yeah.
Florima. Wanted to make sure I got it right. All righty. Thank you. So, what do you talk about City Squash? As we said, something that started 9 years ago, but it's growing. Share with us a little bit about the growth of City Squash.
Sure. City Squash is an after-school program based at Fordham University, and we started in 2002. We serve now 125 students, 130 students, from the 3rd grade all the way through high school and college. And the basic idea of the program is to introduce students to this sport, squash, which is an indoor racket sport. Fordham has 4 squash courts, and they open up their courts in their classrooms to our students. And in addition to letting them play the sport, in addition to teaching them the sport and having them play tournaments, we match that with academic support, tutoring and mentoring, and a lot of community service activities. And so our students are involved year-round, all the way from 3rd grade, if they choose to, through high school and college. And a lot of educational opportunities have been won by those students, and a lot of great travel experiences too.
And Billy's one of those students who's benefited from the travel. You're in 7th grade, and you had the opportunity to go to Europe and play squash.
Yeah.
Where'd you go? Went to Germany and?
I went to Germany and Holland.
Germany and Holland.
Yeah.
And you played squash out there.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what that was like. That had to be an experience coming from this area all the way to Germany and Holland.
Yeah, the competition was really good over there in Europe. A lot of players in Europe play every day, so it was good competition.
How'd you do?
I did pretty good.
You did pretty good?
Out of 64, I came like 18.
That's good. That's good. And Tim, I guess one of the things is to be a 7th grader and to have exposure, particularly in the area of Europe. What does that do for young people?
Yeah, the idea behind City Squash is to expose our students to opportunities and experiences that they haven't been exposed to before, and because squash is played predominantly outside of the Bronx, throughout the Northeast in America, but also around the world, it gives our students a chance to travel and to meet new people. Just before we came here, Billy was talking about how he played in the first round of one of his tournaments, or in one of the early rounds, he played a great player from France, and afterward, Billy chatted with this young player and told him how good he thought he was at the game. And when he came back just a couple of days ago from the trip to Europe, he found on his Facebook page a friend request from this player from France. And so that's just one aspect of the experience that's really positive, that our students are able to meet young people from communities outside of their own and develop relationships with them.
Do you think that squash is a growing sport? Because in the initial we said, you know, it's not the most popular thing that's out there these days, but yet and still it's growing.
Yeah, squash was started at an elite private school in Britain in the 1860s, and when it came to the United States, it was first played at another elite private school in New Hampshire. And throughout its history, it's been limited at educational institutions, elite colleges and private schools, and oftentimes private clubs. But in the last 15 or 20 years, the game has grown a lot in the United States, and lots of programs like City Squash have popped up in places like the Bronx, in South Chicago, in Harlem. We have a great sister program in Harlem. And so there are programs like ours. They're not just teaching kids the sport, but attaching the sport to academic support and mentoring, and helping kids get better opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have.
Billy, talk to me about how much you guys practice and what do you learn. Talk to us about that little routine. What do you do?
I practice almost every day. I try to get better. We also have academics as much as we have squash, so we don't focus too much on one thing. We have a lot of, I play a lot, and I also study hard in academics, which is good.
Talk to us about academics, and you guys have the ability to study and get yourselves prepared academically. What are some of the things that you do academically?
Yesterday our staff teacher was telling us about the UN, about how people are trying to help out with countries that don't have access to clean water, and she's trying to help us out on more stuff that we wouldn't know in school.
So when you have a situation like that going on, and you learn a lot on the academic front. Obviously, Tim, we talk about kids who are learning academically, kids who are learning through sports, but sports is a tremendous mechanism to get them in the area of academics. You want to share a little bit about just sports? Because I know for me, I was a basketball player.
Yeah.
But I knew my grades were able to grow because I had basketball in there. Talk about that sports component.
Yeah, the basic idea of City Squash is to use the excitement that young people have about sports to get them to be more focused on their schoolwork and to put them on a better educational track. And so squash, in that sense, is a means to an end. And a lot of people say, they ask because squash isn't popular in the Bronx, is it difficult to recruit students to join the program? But the truth is that it's not difficult at all, because there aren't enough athletic opportunities for public school students in the Bronx and in New York City in general. And so when we offer up the opportunity for them to try this new sport out, whether they're in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, or 6th grade, the students generally jump at the opportunity. And then once they're a part of the program, then they have to do all the other work as well. So they've got to do community service, they've got to do several days a week of academic support. And so the two really feed each other and benefit each other. And when it comes time for our students to apply to high schools and apply to college, oftentimes squash gives them a little bit of an extra hook in the process, so that they can maybe get into a better school.
You mentioned community service. Sure. What do they do by way of community service?
Billy, do you want to answer that?
We usually meet up at a certain time in the Bronx, and then we go around. Maybe we spent an hour and a half minutes going around our neighborhood, picking up trash, and just going through every sidewalk, cleaning, trying to help out the community.
We also do the AIDS walk in Central Park every year, and we raise money for cancer research and lots of little projects. We've sent letters to terminally ill children, and lots of different things that focus both on the needs within the Bronx and outside.
So you have this dynamic program because you have squash, you got the academic component, you got the community service component, you got international travel. But I know anybody who has an organization says there's still more we want to do. What are some of the things that you're looking to do down the line in the future?
Our biggest goal is to serve more students, and currently we serve 125 or 130 students in the neighborhood, and we do that through our partnership with Fordham University, where we access its squash courts and classrooms. And our long-term goal would be to build a facility of our own with squash courts and classrooms, so that we can reach out not just to our partner schools, PS 205 and MS 45, but also other schools in the neighborhood.
So you got 2 partner schools, and so they're right here in the area. And so when you talk about those partner schools, what's it like going in there and getting kids to become a part of a program? Because you're recruiting against, quote unquote, the other bigger sports. You know, let's say you can play football, you can play basketball. How do you bring them into squash?
Well, the biggest way is that we provide very organized athletic programming, and many of the students at our schools, they don't have at their schools or in their neighborhoods very many organized activities. So if you ask them, what sports do you play, they would say football, baseball, basketball, but are they on any teams for those sports? And the answer typically would be no, that they aren't. And so in being in City Squash, you get a racket, you get a uniform, you get a bag, you get to play in sanctioned tournaments, and so pretty quickly the appeal is strong for the students who are interested in trying out. What
do you tell guys when you tell them that you play squash? They say, what do you tell them?
Well, I've been in the program for a long time, so they hear about my trips and stuff, and then they get anxious and they want to try out as soon as they get any chance of trying out. Some people that I meet don't know the sport, but the kids in my grade and above, they're starting to pick up on it.
All right. Well, Tim, let's get the information out before we leave. If somebody wants to be involved in the program, say maybe there's a parent out there that's watching, what do they do?
Currently, we're only serving students from those 2 schools, so if you're a parent at PS 205 or MS 45, then you should reach out to us by going on our website, citysquash.org. And hopefully one day we'll also be able to serve students from other schools in the area as well.
Beautiful. So we encourage you to find out more if you're in those 2 schools, 45 or PS 205. right? We want you to make sure that you find out more about City Squash and then see if your child can come a part. Because as you can see and hear, very interesting, and it's definitely some exposure involved with it. Tim, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Billy, keep up the good work. We gotta get some video of you and put you up on our sports when we have our sports highlights. We'll make sure our sports guy continues to follow you. And when you go over there, we'll have some videos so that we can say, this is Billy and look at what he's doing. Deal?
Thanks.
All right, that's the deal. All right, well, we're